Fisker says it is about to run out of cash. It won't be able to pay its employees. It won't be able to build electric cars. It will therefore go bankrupt. Nissan says, no worries, we'll buy your company. Nissan last year, its debt was downgraded to junk. It's the only legacy automaker in the world whose debt is considered high risk to banks and investors because it is considered to be junk debt. Now, can Nissan really come in and save another company when both companies are in an equally significant amount of trouble? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. This is like one basket case trying to save another basket case. One lunatic trying to stop another lunatic from jumping off a building. It doesn't really add up, in my opinion. Anyway, if you don't know what's going on with this story, here it is. Nissan and Fisker are deep in negotiations, which would see the heavily indebted Japanese firm investing in a partnership with Fisker, who are a startup electric vehicle manufacturer. They would produce an electric ute. And now Fisker have a lot of great looking designs, and their product, the Fisker Ocean, looks nice. It has some great features. The CEO of the company is a designer. He promises a lot of stuff, but the company's had a lot of problems. Now, Marques Brownlee reviewed the Fisker Ocean. He said it's the worst car he's ever driven. It had more problems than you can imagine. Fisker are struggling to sell vehicles right now. I personally believe they have misled investors. They've misled their own staff. They've misled consumers as to the product itself. To be fair, Fisker himself, the guy, the CEO, I mean, he's a great salesman. He's convinced millions of people on YouTube of how great the product is. I mean, he does these sales conferences. He makes Elon Musk look like a blabbering idiot. That's true. I mean, everyone says that, and I think that's probably a good point. But talk is cheap. When it comes down to it, it's the product that matters. And unfortunately, Fisker haven't been able to deliver. At this point in time, they are only selling literally minuscule amounts of cars. They don't even make them themselves either. The cars are made by Magna Steyr. Now, you know who else makes, you know who else? Now, you know which other electric car is made by Magna Steyr? It's the Jaguar I-Pace. Probably the worst electric car you can get, especially the worst electric car that still costs more than $100,000 and has been recalled for fire problems more than probably every other car put together. The things just keep on burning themselves to the ground. It's an embarrassment. That's Magna Steyr. That's their car. Yeah, probably not the company I'd want building my EVs. But anyhow, because current resources at Fisker are insufficient to satisfy cash requirements, the American automaker flagged that it will need to raise more debt or find an outside investor, but warned there can be no assurance that Fisker will be successful in these efforts. In other words, they're preparing investors for bankruptcy. That's essentially what that statement means. Henrik Fisker, the company's founder and CEO, hinted the company had two rays of hope. The startup is talking to an existing note holder about further investment. But more tantalizing is its negotiations with Nissan for a potential transaction, which could include an investment in Fisker, joint development of one or more of its electric vehicle platforms, and North American manufacturing. Essentially, Fisker are hoping for a Hail Mary to be bailed out by Nissan. Reuters says it is Nissan. Two people told the news agency negotiations are continuing, and while the deal hasn't been finalized, it could be completed by the end of March. One source claimed the term sheet is complete and due diligence is being performed. So some people are saying that it's already done deal. Nissan investing in Fisker. I mean, I can't keep a straight face because this story is so ridiculous. As it stands, the deal will see Nissan invest $400 million, which won't last very long at Fisker, but anyway, into the company, and help the struggling company complete its development of its Alaska ute. The Alaska would then go into production at one of Nissan's US factories in 2026, with Nissan also producing a ute based on that same platform. There are currently two Nissan car plants in operation, one in Tennessee and the other in Canton, Mississippi. Neither company has discussed the details, but that pretty much admits that, yeah, it is Nissan who is the automaker that are going to make this partnership and bail out Fisker. The Alaska, or the kayak as it will be known in Europe, is based on a stretched version of the FT31 architecture that underpins the Fisker Ocean crossover that's currently on sale. But here's the thing. I mean, I don't understand any of this. Fisker doesn't even make this vehicle themselves. I don't get it. I mean, is somehow Nissan going to collaborate with Magna Steyr? I mean, this is really like a tri-venture here. I really don't understand the details of how this is going to work out. Maybe someone else does, but whatever the case may be, it's quite complicated. Measuring around 5.3 meters long, the Alaska or the kayak will be significantly larger than the Fisker Ocean. Despite this, the Ute is expected to be available with the Ocean's drivetrain. So it'll have the same power, the same motors and engines and everything as what you get, the same battery pack as what you get in the Fisker Ocean. So all that will go into their electric Ute. But like I said, if it's made by Magna Steyr, I don't understand it. It's confusing. The Ocean is currently produced in Graz, Austria by Magna Steyr. If the deal does go ahead and the Alaska is produced by Nissan in the US, the car may qualify for some or all of the US government's $7,500 tax credit, which is only available to vehicles made in the US. Now, of course, they would need suppliers, they would need a battery supplier, and they would need to actually start producing that vehicle. At its launch last year, Fisker anticipated the Alaska would have a starting price of US $45,000 in the United States. The Tesla Model Y, it costs around $43,000. So they're saying it's going to be about the same price as the cheapest version of the Tesla Model Y. It doesn't really make sense either, does it? Because if they're made in relatively small quantities, which they would be, at least for a start, they'd have to be losing a lot of money on that pricing, especially if we include inflation and the vehicle won't be made until 2026. The pricing seems very, very overly optimistic. Now, Fisker is saying it is firing 15% of its global workforce, and it's switching from a direct-to-consumer model to a dealer structure. So it's firing a lot of its staff, and it's now going to pay dealers to sell its cars. It's going to add a middleman. So it's going to have the middleman of Magna Steyr, the dealership, and Nissan. So now it has 3 different hands to pay. Yeah, I mean, I can understand why Fisker is doing this. I can understand why Nissan is doing this, but none of it makes any sense. You've got 2 heavily indebted companies. Both of them have debt rated junk. I mean, who's going to finance this? I don't know. The Japanese government? The Japanese government is going to be too busy bailing out Toyota, Mazda, Subaru, and all the other Japanese automotive companies that are going to need it over the next 10 years to be able to help Nissan, who I believe they'll just let die. But hey, maybe I'm being a bit of a pessimist today. Guys, what are your thoughts on this scenario? Do you think this is a great marriage here? Fisker and Nissan getting together to make a Ute in America? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.